have Ken Maynard on the line, the founder and senior negotiator at Divorce the SmartWay. Ken is passionate about helping separating couples through a separation while cutting costs, easing the stress, reducing the time while safeguarding the children. Ken, thank you very much for joining us on the program today.
Well, thank you for having me on.
So, Ken, I got a few questions here, but first of all, is there such a thing as a smart divorce?
Well, you know, the days of maybe our forefathers and parents where it was sort of the knock them down, drag them out, high conflict, high cost, protracted timelines, divorce is really a thing of the past when you think about it, because none of us can really afford a court trial these days. To take 3 and 4 years out of your life is not really practical to put your life on hold for 3 or 4 years while you battle it out in court. And it's just not the way things should get done when you consider that you've got children involved and you don't really want to put their lives on hold for 3 or 4 years while you sort this out in the court system.
Yeah. And what is divorce mediation all about?
Well, divorce mediation is when two people sit with a neutral third party, a mediator, and the mediator goes about trying to find common ground on the issues and gets behind maybe the positions that people have and get into more of their concerns, their fears, their interests, their desires, and build a consensus from there. It's a very useful tool for those who want to find a settlement. Not necessarily do you have to be the most amicable. I mean, there are couples that come to me that are somewhat conflicted. And it's a very practical way to condense the cost, the time in settling your divorce. Well,
so why mediate? Why not just, call a lawyer?
Well, when you call the lawyer and you're handing over control to someone else, and the lawyer is a process-driven person, that's the way they've been trained, and they're going to slot you into their process. And you're giving up control, you're giving up, in essence, decision-making to a certain extent. And it's like going for a drive. Do you want to be the driver or do you want to be the passenger? And very much with a lawyer-driven separation, you're the passenger.
Well, so regarding lawyers then, do you even need them in the process?
Well, yeah, of course you do need a lawyer. I kind of explain it this way. It's like selling your house, for instance. When you go to sell your house, likely your most important asset. You don't hire a lawyer to sell your house. You hire a marketing and negotiation expert that we know as a real estate agent. And when the real estate agent has done his or her job, he passes it over to the lawyer to close the transaction. The same should be considered when you're talking about a separation, is you hire someone to mediate it, in other words, put it together, and the lawyer papers it up and completes or closes the transaction. That's how I would think you should think about using a divorce lawyer, and that's as a closing tool or a closing method.
Ken, how does Divorce the SmartWay mediation kind of compare in costs to the whole lawyer and court process?
Very seldom does a mediated settlement go beyond about $5,000 shared cost. That means $2,500 for each spouse. Very seldom does it go beyond there. A litigated or a lawyer negotiated settlement, every case is different, but you can find that $25,000 is not uncommon for each party in a lawyer negotiated or early court settlement divorce. I've seen cases where there's been businesses involved that go up to as $100,000 each. And it's just so damaging, so disruptive to our retirement plans, to our lifestyle, to our children.
Yeah, incredibly financially stressful, I imagine. What about this whole, when it comes to finance, some people decide they go with the do-it-yourself separation, the downloading a separation template and drafting your own separation agreement. How does that work compared to what you're offering here?
Well, I always say that, if couples can settle it like that, settle it at Tim Hortons, let's say, that's great. That speaks a lot about their ability to put their emotions aside. On the flip side of that, what I do see is couples that one of them would have downloaded a separation agreement and in essence filled it out without the participation of the other party and sort of shoves it across the kitchen table and says, "Here, sign this." That creates a huge conflict. It escalates a conflict beyond belief. But if you do download a document and you can sit together and develop and fill out, in essence, this document, wonderful. If along the way you get into one or two issues that you can't resolve yourself, then come and see a mediator for those one or two issues. But where you will also run into some problems is that if you want to get independent legal advice on that downloaded, filled out separation agreement, there are many lawyers that will just refuse to do it. And those that say they'll do it will actually want to redraft that document. Mm-hmm. And then you're back into being the passenger rather than the driver. But there you go.
Hmm. And I see here on your website that you have an email feed for divorce survival insights. Who should subscribe to this kind of email?
Well, there is about 90 some odd tips that we've got feedback from people who've gone through our process, people who've gone through other mediation processes, people who've found a way to settle their separation. And it's a lot to do with the emotional side and how to position your life post-separation, how to consider what's going on in your mind and your thoughts. It's well worth subscribing to. It's free. It comes about every 2-3 days, and they're thought-provoking little quotes that will get you thinking about where your mindset's at. And many times, to get a settlement, it's about your mindset. Well,
we've covered a few good points here, and I think we should let our audience kind of digest a little bit while we go to commercial. During the break, though, write down Ken's website at the Divorce the SmartWay.ca. That's divorcethesmartway.ca, and we'll be back in just a second, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Divorce Hotel. Back in a minute.